right, Dwayne Aikens, Oakland native, graduate of Oakland Public Schools. I have successfully got 5 individuals through the Oakland Unified School District. Um, 2 are 11th graders at Fremont High School. When I moved back, well, let's start. I'm a graduate of Xavier University of Louisiana, degree psychology, minor in special education. I have an MBA from the University of Phoenix, and I'm currently on a sabbatical from my dissertation in leadership development curriculum instruction. The focus around my dissertation research is all about reimagining public schools for African American boys. The inspiration for that came through seeing experiences that happened to my nephews when they were in middle school because they got into a fight and they were twins and they were heavily criticized, and I just seen the levels of gaps. So that triggered me to say, enroll back in that program. Let's get this degree and let's do some research around that, because we know if we educate professional development around supporting Black and Latino males, that we can win on all angles of academia. I started a nonprofit, We Lead Ours, in 2010, and it's still going. I've been in education since 2005. The inspiration for my nonprofit is when I was teaching physical education in 2005 at a SIN school. The principal asked me to do a male group. I said, I'll do this, but you can't just give me all the African American boys. You got to give me a third, a third, a third. Meaning, some of the kids that are frequent flyers to the principal office, some that are super high achieving, always raising their hand to volunteer, and some that just don't lack engagement and they just at school. So we started a group called MAPS. That led to me pitching that at a job at Reach Academy to take a math tutoring assessment class to lead it. And she said, Dwayne, okay, yeah.
Sorry, you finish up your thought.
Oh, yeah. So that led me to start MAPS and LAPS at Reach Academy Elementary, and that spearheaded me into the nonprofit work that I do today.
Great. Megan, you're going to ask the first question.
Awesome. Okay. OUSD is facing budget shortfall, and to make matters worse, OUSD student enrollment is continuing to decline for the 6th year in a row. Oakland is also operating far more schools than other similarly sized districts, which is leading to inadequate resources supporting our schools. What actions would you take to address these enrollment and budget challenges?
So that was actually, I hope y'all don't mind me looking at my notes, but I actually was working on this today, the framework. So we need a realistic long-term financial plan when solving this problem. As an elected board member, first off, I have to assess what I'm going to walk into and what I'll be looking at. So we need to make sure that we assess the current finances. We set clear goals that are within our parameters to be smart and savvy. And within these goals and parameters, we need to really have a strong forecasting policy within this structure of work, expense projections, and then we also need to have risk assessment in there. And we need to also have some debt management, resource allocation, and we definitely need to make sure that we do a little bit more community service, the stakeholder engagement, to bring people to the forefront so that they know what's going on and why we're making these difficult, hard decisions, instead of just getting it from the news and then now parents in an uproar, community members in an uproar. If me being elected to District 3, one of my biggest goals is to make sure that I have monthly meetings, regardless if they may be scary, hard to have, or jovial. I want to make sure that I'm connecting directly to the people that I represent. So when I do walk into the Oakland Unified School District board meetings, that I have formally engaged my community members that I represent, and they understand that today we might not like what he has to vote on, but he was clear and transparent when putting forth that effort, energy, and work. So we just really need to figure out ways to have clear transparency when it comes to finances and understanding the state of our school district. I think, if I get the number right, I think it's like 83 schools, 83 schools, and then it's like 30-some thousand kids, and then it's like a couple of sub-charters branches, which is about 15,000 some kids. So we have to really focus on this next cycle of life when it comes to OUSD after we get out of state receivership, of how do we create thriving, healthy schools that's going to be attractive for the parents to say, I want my kids to participate in the Oakland Unified School District. Yes, I work in San Rafael, but I feel like my kid can go to school in OUSD and not San Rafael County. So, I mean, not San Rafael City, not a county, but that's Marin. But really doing something unique and holistic that's going to make sure that all our kids thrive and that they get all the mental, physical, and academic love that they need to be successful, healthy, global citizens.
I'm gonna go next. So, as someone who hasn't been an educator in a traditional sort of like classroom setting, or who may not have worked for the district before, right? How do you think your experience has prepared you for this office?
So my degree is psychology, minor in special education. One thing that Xavier University of Louisiana makes all students do is you have to do community service. Since those were my majors, my community service did a lot of experience, mild and moderate, special needs, school of the blind, you name it, I did it. And then being a psychology major, some of your classes that are the child development type of classes, you have to do 18 hours of service out as an externship in the fields, learning that, and then special education was my minor. So each one of my special education classes, I had to do class-based work. And then indirectly, I have served in the capacity as a traditional instructor because when I taught physical education, I came through the umbrella of Sports for Kids, and I did not have the principal sitting in the office with me or a TA sitting in the office with me. It was Dwayne, you're teaching physical education to K to 8th grade. So indirectly, I've done that at Reach Academy. When you're in after school programs, so I was serving as the leadership instructor for the after school space, and one of the head of the after school program, she got sick, and so she left, and that left me to manage and run that. So I had to partner directly with the principal to create that pipeline between after school and daytime. So I was the key holder. I would get to the school before the principal at some days. I had the alarm code. I was closing down the school, meeting with those parents that the principal can touch bases with, and building that pipeline. And then some of those kids were actually graduates of my program. One of them has actually left to go to Xavier University, and she just graduated. So to be a non-traditional educator, a sense of educator, that's literally what I do. Like I walk into schools and I can manage any classroom. It's been times where I pushed into a school and a teacher is getting hit by, a substitute is getting hit by all of the chaos, and I walk into the classroom and shut it down. And those substitutes are like, could you please stop back again? And I'm like, well, that's technically not my job. I just don't agree with the behavior, and these young people know better. So I know how to run a classroom. I know how to teach curriculum. I know how to do a principal job. I know how to do an after school support staff member job. I know how to do a mentor. I know how to do executive director job. And pretty much I just love education, and I wanted to create something that was unique for myself that can also be a legacy for my family members and to change the narrative of my family. So that's why I did not go into traditional classroom. And I said, I don't want to be a daytime teacher, but I want to impact youth development. I feel like with my board experiences, everything that I've done, being on the board of directors, Keep Oakland Beautiful, Oakland Parks and Rec Foundation, former chair of the Oakland Sugar Tax Advisory Commission, current board member of Sugar Tax Advisory Commission, on the board of directors, Oakland Parks and Rec Foundation, board member of BART Title VI Environmental Justice, former Western Region Secretary of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, current member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I feel like with all of that work, I have the credentials to walk into any board level, whether it's the city or county, and do an excellent job to help and to take board work to the next level, to where It's not just showing up at a board meeting and doing your homework there. I've done my homework before I got to the board meeting, so now let's get to business and let's be about solutions. So we can stop putting stuff on the back burner, take care of business at these meetings, and stop being on meetings till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you. And then Hazel's gonna ask the last question. And then we'll do some follow-ups.
I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on this. So what are the things the district needs to do in order to improve outcomes in math literacy? And specifically, can you talk a little bit about how we should approach closing the achievement gap between Black and brown kids and the rest of the students?
I think really we have to make reading and literacy fun. What I often do is when I talk to young people, I switch it up and I talk about hashtags, because we all know these hashtags. It's not that these kids can't read. Some of them just don't understand why it's important to actually sit down and practice and read. And so when you start talking to them in their terminology, they understand the social media lingo, and they can probably get on one of our phones and take us through the whole tutorial. And this is probably somebody that is in the 9th grade but's testing at a 6th grade level, but they understand those things. So if we can figure out solutions to how we make literacy cool and fun and uplifting, it would help us. I think one thing is, like, a 9th grader or a 10th grader is not going to want you to tell them that they're reading on the 3rd grade level, because they feel like their maturity level's here, they feel like they almost adult. So, okay, you know they're reading on the 3rd grade level. So how about, Teresa, I want you to volunteer with me, and I'm going to put you in 2nd grade classes. You're going to do a mentor leadership literacy class, and you're going to read to the 2nd graders or the kindergartners, right? So you indirectly encouraging them to pick up a book and read and do something. And what I know about teenagers, most of them want to feel like they have a sense of autonomy and they are in charge. And then once they start reading, you pull them to a meeting, like you're coaching them, advising them, like, hey, Teresa, I noticed that when you get to some of your ERs, it sounds like this. This is what you have to do. You have to pull your shoulders back and you have to do this. And matter of fact, here's 10 more words that I want to show you. And next week, we're going to go over these words, because these words are going to come up on the SATs. And all the practice you're going to get in elementary reading on this level is going to prepare you. So meet the kid where they're at, give them a sense of encouragement. Don't make them feel inferior to the other kids that are reading encyclopedias and doing all these traditional things. And we know with social media in play, we know with the internet in play, that our kids is missing a big knowledge gap when it comes to literacy. Even when we look at what's going on in the state of politics and you see some of what the young people repeat, they're repeating fake news and they don't even know how to go and check citations. So how do we incorporate and shift our traditional English classes to saying, let's get more in alignment with what our kids are doing on social media? And then let's add these scary things that we don't really want to talk about in school. Let's add it to this new curriculum, so we're teaching those things while our kids are evolving and learning how to do AI. I don't want a kid to turn in a paper to me from AI and they haven't even read through it to understand that it was just talking. It was talking in present tense, and talking in future. And so we have to really get alignment caught up with the way that the global and the technology economy is changing. It's changing regardless we like it or not. It's here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. So if we don't teach our kids how to compete in this evolving market, we're going to miss out. And our kids are going to be the next wave of folks that's talking about gentrification, and they're not going to be able to participate in these new condos and stuff that's coming up. I believe that if we teach our kids to read, because if you can read and you can draft a contract and you got an idea or a concept, you can start you a business. And if you understand some financial literacy while doing that, it'll be a lot easier for you to get to that next level as an independent business owner. So we have to teach our kids how to be constructive, how to leverage their resources, and reading to understand, and making sure that we figure out unique ways to show them how literacy, and of course math, how that applies to them. One thing that I did do is when I was at the Oakland Library, they had a literacy event, and I was actually talking to one of the volunteers about pretty much when I'm elected, building a healthy relationship with the Oakland Literacy Coalition because they're doing that grassroots movement on the ground. I do youth development, drug prevention, sports, physical education, and that basic mentoring stuff. So I don't want to come in and just reinvent the wheels, although I got the credentials to draft the curriculum. But if we have people that are already doing the work, it's much easier to partner and see what they're doing, what their data shows, and let's apply that into policy and use some of those things to do some trial by base errors and test and retest and see if we get some positive outcomes.
Are we on time?
We have about 5 minutes to do some follow-ups. So maybe time for 2 follow-ups.
Can I ask what is the most out-of-the-box thing that's in your dissertation right now? Just because I think one of my general perspective is the system fails because it was designed to fail. So whenever anyone says rethink education, I'm always curious, like, what are you rethinking?
I'm rethinking about how like sometimes when dealing with kids, a lot of people think that because you are a white male that you can't relate to Dwayne Aikens, the black student. That's not true. You have academic bullies. So you have some people that are black and brown from the community that don't show up and do that basic check-in with some of the kids from the community. And then in some instances, me playing devil's advocate, you have some folks from rural America that may come in and might do that customer service and that kid might relate. And then you have that flip to where you have some folks coming in and they hear all of these different things about Oakland, the demographics, the violence, the horror stories of drugs and all this stuff. And so they come in as, I'm gonna save these kids. And that kid, that person, that educator can be from the Midwest, the South, the East Coast, somewhere else in California, but they feel like they gotta come save Oakland. But the thing is, they still scared and they have an indirect bias. That don't mean that they're racist or have these isms, but something may have happened to them that remind them of some of the kids that are in OUSD. So they forget to coach them and hold them accountable and tell them that you can be successful. Like it's so many kids when I'm on some of these campuses and I'm the only one when I get on one of these campuses, like, hey, how you doing today? I'm doing fine. What's your name? Okay, your name's, let me tell you something. First off, you at work right now. What you mean I'm at work? You at work. Your parents got you at school. You at work. Your job is to be an academic student and a scholar during the day. So when you get in the real world, what you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to pull your shirts up, your pants up. You can't walk in the job smelling like weed. You can't have the lighter on your belt showing. Now you're a young adult, so I'm not gonna take your lighter, but I want you to know one of my priorities when you see me on campus, I don't want to see your lighter. Next time I see your lighter, I'm gonna have to take it. Oh, I got you, sir. Simple. Just basically checking in with these kids, treating them as human. And when you don't hold them accountable, then you get the constant bipping, you get the constant cutting school, cussing out teachers, all of these different things that is not helping education. And our school places need to be fun learning environments. When I take kids to Salesforce, Facebook, Google, Lockheed Martin, the kids be like, people work here? They're campuses. They're beautiful campuses where where it's like, oh wait, I got a cafeteria where I can eat anytime. If we did the same investment with some of our public schools, kids will be all right. Kids will be all right if they can take out their laptop and say, I want to sit on the grass and bring a picnic blanket and do my work on the grass today. I'm at school, I'm in a safe space, and I'm doing my work. So we really have a lot of work to do with changing schools. I don't think I'm going to get to I think eventually I'll get to some of those big ambitious ideas, but I think for now, one thing that I can do on day one is engage the community, get them a part, and build that coalition around me so that I'm able to do a job and feel supported by the community and not have to lean one or two ways on a vote because they know that I'm here representing District 3 and this is District 3 priorities.
Thank you. We have one
I
follow-up.
was gonna follow up exactly where you landed. You are running for this in this race, not the choice candidate of the teachers union, OEA. If and when you get in and get elected, how do you plan to build productive relationship to move forward with a group that didn't support you and actively worked to keep you out of office?
Ultimately, I believe that I can work with anybody. I feel like the OEA don't know me. Um, I don't think that they did all of their research on me, because even after reading their statement, they had my credentials all wrong. So I don't know who piecemealed that presentation together. But me, I'm all about the kids, all about the work. If they have something that is attainable, realistic, and for the kids and for the teachers inside the schools and the administrators and everybody else that fits into the gumbo pot to make sure that our schools are safe and attainable, then I'm all for it. And yeah, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. And I don't have a beef. I don't have a beef. I've been doing this work. I've done this work for free to affordable costs, and I'm gonna continue to do this work after November 5th. My nephews told me it's about time you put your name on the paper, and my 16-year-olds are excited to vote.
All right.